The two martial artists stood before an imposing stone wall, its surface worn and weathered by time, bearing the marks of an era long past. Jinwee's sharp eyes scanned the ancient structure, his intuition telling him there was something extraordinary hidden beyond its seemingly unyielding facade. His breath quickened, a mix of anticipation and trepidation coursing through him as the significance of their discovery began to dawn. Lee Cheol-soo, ever methodical, approached the wall with a calculated gaze. His mind raced, piecing together fragments of history and logic. The mechanisms behind the wall, he deduced, were relics from an era 300 years gone, devices of intricate engineering designed to open and close the stone barriers with precision. Yet these marvels of old were fraught with peril. Any misstep, too much or too little force, could spell disaster, causing the entire structure to collapse in an instant. His expression was calm but firm, the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on his shoulders. Jinwee's thoughts lingered on the challenge that lay ahead. The demon-slaying sword technique was their key, but its execution required unparalleled mastery and precision. If Lee Cheol-soo failed to wield the technique flawlessly, the wall would remain sealed, and the opportunity to uncover what lay beyond would be lost forever. The stakes could not be higher. Lee Cheol-soo, though burdened with the enormity of the task, carried a quiet resolve. Deep within, he believed in the existence of a solution, no matter how slim the odds seemed. He stood in silent contemplation, his thoughts weaving together fragments of knowledge and intuition as he assessed the task ahead. Though the demon-slaying sword technique was no simple feat to master, he was not entirely unfamiliar with its secrets. The technique, revered and feared in equal measure, carried with it the weight of history and power. The delicate balance of the martial world and the imperial family's rule came to mind, a balance maintained not through loyalty but through calculated vigilance. The imperial family, ever wary of the growing might of martial artists, had devised countermeasures to keep them in check. They had long sought to collect the secret techniques of renowned sects, stowing them away within the armory of the imperial palace. There, these treasures served as both a repository of power and a safeguard against rebellion. Among them, the demon-slaying sword technique of the Gongdong sect held a place of particular prominence, its fame ensuring its inclusion within the imperial archives. His sharp eye traced the marks etched into the ancient wall before him, a realization striking with clarity. These grooves bore the unmistakable traces of the demon-slaying sword technique, left behind by a celestial being who had once wielded the sword with unparalleled mastery. It was an undeniable link, a clue pointing to something extraordinary hidden beyond the wall. With this understanding, his resolve solidified. Whatever lay beyond this barrier was no ordinary relic or forgotten treasure. It was an arrangement left by the celestial sword lord. Lee Cheol-soo stepped away from the imposing stone wall, his gaze dropping to the ground as a new realization dawned. His mind turned to the fundamental principles of martial arts. Every technique, no matter how refined, began with a foundation in movement. Stepping techniques, he knew, were the building blocks that allowed martial artists to channel power and precision. Here, in this ancient and enigmatic place, every detail seemed to carry the deliberate intent of the celestial sword lord, each element a vital clue waiting to be unraveled. As he moved forward, his steps became measured, purposeful. He studied the faint marks etched into the ground, their pattern forming a subtle yet unmistakable guide. The trail seemed alive with meaning, each step hinting at the path the celestial sword lord had once walked. Jinwee, watching from behind, was taken aback by the sudden shift in Lee Cheol-soo's movements. His sharp mind quickly pieced together the unfolding scene. The marks on the ground were not random scuffs or remnants of wear. They were deliberate, a map left by a master swordsman. Jinwee realized with growing awe that Lee Cheol-soo was not merely walking but tracing the essence of a stepping technique, following the marks as if retracing the very origins of the movement. Lee Cheol-soo's steps halted abruptly, his eyes narrowing as they fixed on a particular spot along the cave wall. There, amidst the layers of moss and grime that time had layered over the stone, he sensed something, an answer concealed within the ancient surface. Slowly, with a steady hand, he began to clear away the moss, his movements careful yet deliberate, as though unveiling a relic too sacred to disturb carelessly. The intricacy of the mark suggested a technique of unparalleled precision, each groove whispering of a master's hand at work. The sight filled him with a mix of awe and urgency, as though he were standing on the edge of a revelation. Turning toward Eunuch Lee Cheol-soo sought his senior's expertise. The mark held layers of meaning, a code woven into its design. It demanded an interpreter, someone with the wisdom and insight to decipher the message left behind by the celestial sword lord. Lee Cheol-soo's gaze held a silent plea, an unspoken trust that Eunuch's experience would unlock the secrets embedded within the wall. The intricacies of the demon-slaying sword technique revealed themselves slowly, etched into the stone wall by the enigmatic hand of the celestial sword lord. The marks were a labyrinth of knowledge, so dense and layered that it took Lee Cheol-soo and Eunuch 2 full days to decipher their meaning. The process was arduous, each clue demanding intense focus and collaboration. Eunuch had quickly discerned a crucial detail. The lightning-shaped marks carved into the wall indicated that the technique's origin point was on the opposite side. This revelation spurred them into action, pooling their efforts to reconstruct the ancient technique. They relied heavily on the secret techniques of the Gongdong sect that they had painstakingly recovered and used reverse calculation to piece together what was missing. For Lee Cheol-soo, it was a test of both memory and ingenuity, pushing the limits of his mental and physical endurance. Correcting even the smallest errors in Eunuch's sword stance proved to be a grueling challenge. Lee Cheol-soo's determination was unshakable. Every correction, no matter how minor, brought them one step closer to restoring the demon-slaying sword technique to its full glory. Yet the effort exacted a toll. His jaw ached from clenching his teeth in concentration, his body tense with the weight of responsibility. Amidst the grueling task, a fleeting, almost bitter thought crossed his mind. He had once imagined that his first physical interaction in this life might involve teaching swordsmanship to a graceful and beautiful woman, a moment of elegance and charm. Instead, here he was, painstakingly guiding Eunuch through each precise movement. Every correction another reminder of the unexpected paths fate had laid before him. The days had been grueling, an unrelenting test of endurance and willpower for Lee Cheol-soo and Eunuch. Hunger gnawed at their resolve, forcing them to survive on the sparse wall grain pills they carried. When thirst threatened to weaken their focus, the cool water of the valley stream provided fleeting relief. Yet, neither the physical strain nor the constant ache of exhaustion could deter them from their task. The breakthrough came at last. After endless hours of reverse calculating the intricate movements and incantations of the demon-slaying sword technique, their efforts bore fruit. The realization struck like a flash of lightning, a moment of triumph so overwhelming that it nearly shattered Lee Cheol-soo's composure. But as the wave of elation subsided, a sobering clarity returned. The ordeal, the madness of their relentless pursuit, had pushed them to their limits. Yet, it was over now, the culmination of days of hardship and unyielding determination. Lee Cheol-soo felt the weight of the struggle lift from his shoulders, replaced by a quiet resolution. This chapter, marked by trials and triumphs, had reached its end. Eunuch stood before the stone wall. The realization struck him with clarity. This was it. The moment where the demon-slaying sword technique would reveal its full power. Lee Cheol-soo met Eunuch's gaze with unwavering certainty. This task, this crucial step, was not his to complete but Eunuch's. The technique demanded a precision and mastery that only Eunuch could bring to bear. Lee Cheol-soo's confidence in his senior was resolute, though the challenge ahead was formidable. Yet, doubt lingered in Eunuch's heart. His hesitation was palpable as he admitted his unease. The absence of the celestial force art, an integral aspect of mastering the demon-slaying sword technique, loomed over him like a shadow. His master's words echoed in his mind, a reminder of the technique's true difficulty without the necessary celestial energy to guide it. Lee Cheol-soo regarded the intricate sword marks engraved on the stone wall with a measured gaze. The craftsmanship spoke of a technique meant for those who had mastered the demon-slaying sword technique to its peak, a level far beyond what ordinary martial artists could achieve. For those without the celestial martial body, such mastery was all but unattainable. He acknowledged inwardly that the marks were likely left as clues, not meant for someone like Eunuch or himself to unlock fully. Yet, restoring the technique to this extent had been a monumental accomplishment in itself. Eunuch, unsettled by the challenge, voiced his concerns, seeking assurance. The question hung heavily in the air, a reflection of the uncertainty they both felt. But Lee Cheol-soo's smirk betrayed a flicker of confidence. He had no intention of leaving this puzzle unsolved. As he examined the ancient wall more closely, Lee Cheol-soo's mind turned to his past. His time as the head of the Imperial Intelligence Organization had honed his skills in manipulation and understanding of mechanical devices. This mechanism, impressive as it was, bore the wear of 300 years. Compared to its prime, it was vulnerable, its once flawless precision dulled by time. Running his fingers along the stone, Lee Cheol-soo contemplated the original design. The mechanism had been created to respond to the sharp sword energy of the demon-slaying sword technique, unlocking only for one who wielded the technique flawlessly. However, with age, parts of the mechanism had become less discerning. It could no longer distinguish between true sword energy and the refined sensitivity he had cultivated. This weakness would be their key. With deliberate precision, Lee Cheol-soo began to manipulate the mechanism, his every movement guided by an intimate understanding of its workings. His confidence grew with each subtle shift in the device, and soon, the faint sound of internal components shifting echoed through the cave. The mechanism yielded to his expertise, and with a final adjustment, the door began to open. His thoughts ran deep as he considered the balance of their efforts. Where Eugenui faltered, he would step forward. Where his own capabilities fell short, Eugenui would rise to the occasion. Together, they were not merely two individuals but a force greater than the sum of their parts. The journey had transformed them both, each shaped by the challenges they faced and the trust they placed in one another. Eugenui was no longer the man he had been in past failures, and Lee Cheol-soo took quiet pride in knowing he had played a part in that evolution. As the moment of action approached, Eugenui stepped forward, sword in hand. The air around him seemed to shift, a quiet intensity radiating from his stance. He drew upon the knowledge and discipline honed through their arduous efforts, channeling the essence of the demon-slaying sword technique into his every motion. With a precise and deliberate strike, the technique came alive. The ancient sword marks engraved on the wall seemed to resonate in response, a long-dormant mechanism springing to life under the weight of Eugenui's skill. The stone wall groaned and shuddered, then began to part, revealing the path ahead. The ancient stone wall groaned open. Eugenui's excitement was palpable. The sheer enormity of their accomplishment surged through him, his expression a mix of elation and disbelief. The fact that the wall had yielded was undeniable proof. The restored demon-slaying sword technique was indeed correct. The culmination of their relentless effort had not only reclaimed the secret techniques of the Gongdong sect but also validated their painstaking work. Eugenui's joy overflowed, a rare and genuine moment of triumph in their arduous journey. Lee Cheol-soo, however, tempered the celebration with a sharp sense of caution. His sharp gaze fixed on the darkness beyond the wall, his mind racing with possibilities. The opening of the wall was only the beginning. Whatever the celestial sword lord had left behind could be as perilous as it was valuable. The secrets hidden within this place were undoubtedly guarded by challenges designed to deter all but the most determined and skilled. His eyes fluttered open, a groggy haze clouding his mind. Lee Cheol-soo struggled to recall when exactly he had fallen asleep. The dim light filtering through a familiar ceiling drew his attention. His surroundings felt oddly familiar. Hyun glanced toward Wongsam, his eyes narrowing as he inspected the boy before them. "Oh, this child." His voice carried a mix of suspicion and curiosity. Wongsam studied the boy carefully, his gaze sharp and calculating. "Yes. Judging by his speech only using the language of Joseon, he appears to be a lost child from Haedong. How much do you think we could fetch for him if we sold him to the palace?" His tone was cold, devoid of sympathy. As Lee Cheol-soo's eyes slowly adjusted, he took in the two familiar faces before him. Recognition dawned upon him with a jolt. Wongsam, the man who had once sold him off, and Jang Ahayan, the broker from the imperial palace. The weight of their presence brought a flood of memories and unsettling clarity. The surroundings felt eerily familiar, yet distorted, as if layered in illusion. A deep, hollow feeling settled in his chest. The once open mechanical device had led him into a trap, revealing nothing but this false, haunting vision. His breath grew heavy as he realized the cruel trick played on him. "I see," Lee Cheol-soo muttered, his voice low and resolute. "So that's it. A hallucination. A cruel illusion to deceive me. I was expecting something beyond that sealed stone wall. Not this." His jaw tightened as he clenched his fists, the anger simmering just beneath his skin. With a firm, unwavering resolve, he vowed, "But to show me such a pitiful hallucination, I will make you pay dearly for this, celestial sword lord,